Welcome! Today we are looking at reproductive systems in plants. This is topic 5 in your SS3 biology series. This topic is often tested in your examinations. Pay close attention. Let us begin. First, let me explain what reproduction in plants is. Reproduction is the process by which organisms produce new individuals. In plants, reproduction can be asexual or sexual. Asexual reproduction involves one parent. It produces offspring that are genetically identical to the parent. This is called cloning. Sexual reproduction involves two parents. It produces offspring that are genetically different from the parents. Sexual reproduction involves the fusion of gametes. Gametes are sex cells. In plants, the male gamete is the pollen. The female gamete is the ovule. Fertilization is the fusion of male and female gametes. It produces a zygote. The zygote develops into an embryo. Understanding reproduction in plants is essential for understanding plant biology and agriculture. Now, let me explain asexual reproduction in plants. Asexual reproduction is common in plants. It involves the production of new individuals from vegetative parts. This is called vegetative propagation. There are several types. The first is runners. Runners are horizontal stems that grow along the ground. They produce new plants at nodes. Examples include strawberries and grasses. The second is rhizomes. Rhizomes are underground stems. They grow horizontally. They produce new shoots and roots. Examples include ginger and ferns. The third is tubers. Tubers are swollen underground stems. They store nutrients. They produce new plants from buds. Examples include potatoes and yams. The fourth is bulbs. Bulbs are underground buds. They have fleshy leaves. They store nutrients. Examples include onions and lilies. The fifth is suckers. Suckers are shoots that grow from the roots. They produce new plants. Examples include bananas and raspberries. The sixth is cuttings. Cuttings are pieces of stems or leaves. They are placed in soil. They develop roots and shoots. This is used in horticulture. Asexual reproduction produces genetically identical offspring. It is fast and efficient. However, it reduces genetic diversity. Now, let me explain the advantages of asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction has several advantages. First, it is rapid. It allows for quick population growth. Second, it does not require a mate. It can occur in isolation. Third, it produces offspring that are adapted to the environment. They have the same adaptations as the parent. Fourth, it is energy efficient. It does not require the production of flowers and seeds. Fifth, it allows for the propagation of desirable traits. This is important in agriculture. However, asexual reproduction also has disadvantages. It reduces genetic diversity. This makes populations vulnerable to diseases and environmental changes. Now, let me explain sexual reproduction in plants. Sexual reproduction involves the formation of flowers. Flowers are the reproductive structures of angiosperms. They contain the male and female reproductive organs. The male reproductive organ is the stamen. The stamen consists of the anther and filament. The anther produces pollen. Pollen contains the male gametes. The female reproductive organ is the pistil. The pistil consists of the stigma, style, and ovary. The stigma receives pollen. The style connects the stigma to the ovary. The ovary contain ovule. Ovules contain the female gametes. Pollination is the transfer of pollen from anther to stigma. Fertilization occurs when pollen reaches the ovule. The zygote develops into an embryo. The ovule becomes a seed. The ovary becomes a fruit. This is the process of sexual reproduction in plants. Now, let me explain the structure of a flower. A flower has 4 main parts. The sepals are the outermost part. They protect the flower bud. The petals are the colourful part. They attract pollinators. The stamens are the male reproductive organs. They produce pollen. The pistil is the female reproductive organ. It produces ovules. Flowers can be complete or incomplete. Complete flowers have all 4 parts. Incomplete flowers lack 1 or more parts. Flowers can be perfect or imperfect. Perfect flowers have both stamens and pistils. Imperfect flowers have either stamens or pistils. Plants can be monoecious or dioecious. Monoecious plants have both male and female flowers on the same plant. Dioecious plants have male and female flowers on separate plants. Now let me explain pollination. Pollination is the transfer of pollen from anther to stigma. There are 2 types: self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self-pollination occurs when pollen is transferred from anther to stigma of the same flower. Cross-pollination occurs when pollen is transferred from anther of one flower to stigma of another flower. Cross-pollination promotes genetic diversity. It is advantageous for evolution. Pollination can be carried out by various agents. These include wind, water, insects, birds, and bats. Wind-pollinated flowers are small and inconspicuous. They produce large amounts of pollen. They have feathery stigmas. Examples include grasses and trees. Insect-pollinated flowers are large and colourful. They produce nectar. They have sticky pollen. Examples include roses and sunflowers. Pollination is essential for fertilization and seed production. Now, let me explain fertilization in plants. Fertilization is the fusion of male and female gametes. It occurs in the ovule. Pollen germinates on the stigma. It produces a pollen tube. The pollen tube grows down the style. It reaches the ovary. It enters the ovule. The pollen tube releases 2 sperm cells. One sperm cell fuses with the egg cell. This produces a zygote. The other sperm cell fuses with the polar nuclei. This produces the endosperm. This is called double fertilization. It is unique to angiosperms. The zygote develops into an embryo. The endosperm provides nutrition for the embryo. The ovule becomes a seed. The ovary becomes a fruit. This is the process of fertilization in plants. Now, let me explain seed formation. Seeds develop from ovules after fertilization. A seed consists of an embryo, endosperm, and seed coat. The embryo is the young plant. It has a radicle, plumule, and cotyledons. The radicle develops into the root. The plumule develops into the shoot. Cotyledons are seed leaves. They store nutrients or absorb nutrients from the endosperm. Monocots have 1 cotyledon. Dicots have 2 cotyledons. The endosperm provides nutrition for the embryo. The seed coat protects the embryo. Seeds are adapted for dispersal. They can be dispersed by wind, water, animals, or mechanical means. Seed dispersal is important for colonization of new areas. Now, let me explain fruit formation. Fruits develop from ovaries after fertilization. The fruit wall is called the pericarp. It consists of 3 layers. The exocarp is the outer layer. The mesocarp is the middle layer. The endocarp is the inner layer. Fruits can be fleshy or dry. Fleshy fruits are soft and juicy. Examples include tomatoes, oranges, and berries. Dry fruits are hard and dry. Examples include nuts, grains, and pods. Fruits protect the seeds. They aid in seed dispersal. Animals eat fruits and disperse the seeds. Fruits are important for agriculture and human nutrition. Now let me explain germination. Germination is the process by which a seed develops into a seedling. It requires water, oxygen, and suitable temperature. Water imbibition is the absorption of water by the seed. This activates enzymes. Enzymes break down stored nutrients. The embryo grows. The radicle emerges first. It anchors the seedling. The plumule emerges next. It develops into the shoot. There are two types of germination: epidual germination and hypodual germination. In epidual germination, the cotyledons are pushed above the ground. In hypodual germination, the cotyledons remain below the ground. Germination is essential for plant establishment. Now, let me explain the importance of reproduction in plants. Reproduction is important for several reasons. First, it ensures the continuation of species. Second, it increases population size. Third, it promotes genetic diversity. Genetic diversity is important for adaptation. Fourth, it produces food for humans and animals. Seeds and fruits are important food sources. Fifth, it supports agriculture. Understanding reproduction is essential for crop production. Sixth, it supports conservation. Understanding reproduction helps conserve plant species. Reproduction is essential for plant survival. Now, let me explain the differences between asexual and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction involves one parent. Sexual reproduction involves two parents. Asexual reproduction produces genetically identical offspring. Sexual reproduction produces genetically different offspring. Asexual reproduction does not involve gametes. Sexual reproduction involves gametes. Asexual reproduction is rapid. Sexual reproduction is slower. Asexual reproduction does not require pollination. Sexual reproduction requires pollination. Both types are important. They serve different purposes in plant life cycles. Now let me give you sample exam questions. Define reproduction in plants. Reproduction is the process by which plants produce new individuals. Distinguish between asexual and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction involves one parent. Sexual reproduction involves two parents. Name the parts of a flower. The parts are sepals, petals, stamens, and pistil. Explain pollination. Pollination is the transfer of pollen from anther to stigma. Describe double fertilization. Double fertilization involves fusion of one sperm with the egg and another sperm with polar nuclei. State the conditions for germination. Germination requires water, oxygen, and suitable temperature. Let me summarize. Reproduction in plants can be asexual or sexual. Asexual reproduction involves vegetative propagation. Sexual reproduction involves flowers. Flowers have sepals, petals, stamens, and pistils. Pollination is the transfer of pollen. Fertilization is the fusion of gametes. Double fertilization is unique to angiosperms. Seeds develop from ovules. Fruits develop from ovaries. Germination is the development of a seed into a seedling. Reproduction is essential for survival and agriculture. Practice these concepts. When you have them down, move to topic 6.